All right, all right, all right. Top of the top. Whoever catches the replay will catch the replay. But I'm just going to talk about the events that transpired today, give my thoughts on it, also give my assessment of it, and also talk about some of the double standards that we saw today in the events. That leads me to believe that it was an inside job. That indeed the Trump administration will play dumb like it had no idea that it was going to happen. But I think that in one way or another, they financed it. In one way or another, they supported it. And I'm pretty sure in the next couple of days, it's going to come out that they did indeed support what transpired today. So, without further ado, let's get into how easy it was for them to break into the Capitol building. When we look at how easy it is, you kind of have to question, like, wow, they really didn't have to do much to break in. You would think that with a building like that, it would be more difficult to break into it, but it was very, very easy for them to do that. I was scrolling through my social media and looking at how it was pretty simple for them to do it. I mean, and it almost looked like that cops actually let them in. I was looking at it. There was one clip actually of a cop who took a selfie with one of the people who did it, one of the terrorists who was in there. So that's when I questioned, like, the cops aren't stopping anything. No tear gas, no nothing. Now, someone did get shot. I know someone did. I don't know the complete details of it, but this is in complete contrast to, for example, and by no means do I support this group. I'm not saying I support this group at all. Okay. The group that I'm about to name. But in in um in contrast, when you look at the Black Lives Matter movement, they had military. Okay, they had US military. They had military dressed to the T during a simple Black Lives Matter protest that really, for the most part, was not violent. But you had some, of course, opportunists who really worked for the other side who were inciting violence and looting. I even saw a video of a police officer who was looting as well. Okay. So this is how you know that there's more layers. But when you look at what happened today, it seems like these fools just walked in there. As a matter of fact, it seems like they were given the red carpet. You know, there was one, I think there was one security guard or something like that. I don't know if he was a security guard or a police officer. And he went in there. Oh, okay. Yeah, I see you. Top of the top, Ronald. Thanks for stopping by, tapping in. Appreciate that. I went when I saw this security guard, it seemed like the security guard was reluctant to shoot. Okay, he did not shoot one protester. Listen, if I was in his hands, I'm sorry, I would have clapped many of those protesters. Okay, just to send a message that I'm not to be fucked with. excuse my French, you know, hey, how's it going? How's it going? But yeah, if I was in that guard situation, I would have been clapped a protester, no problem. Would have and would not have even blinked another eye, to be honest. I would have busted, I would have clapped a dude in the kneecap so quickly and been like, yo, I'm not one to play with, you know. I'm not one to play with. But he didn't. He just I think he picked up like a little stick. And I'm like, what in the Ross is this? Okay. Fast forward, you have Antifa people. You have like Antifa people who also support Trump, yet they say they're anti-fascist or fascist, excuse me. Yeah, fascist. And I think the guy who was sitting in Nancy Pelosi's seat was from Antifa movement. So to make a long story short, and I hate to say this, and it's going to sound very, and it's going to rub people the wrong way, but I'm speaking from an African perspective. I'm not speaking from like a homegrown patriotic American citizen perspective. Because believe it or not, you have a lot of, unfortunately, you have some black people in this country. They're whiter than white people sometimes. If you talk about the shit this country has done, but that's beside the point. But if it comes to allies, when it comes to people who have changed or who have helped change the lot of black people, I know a lot of people say black people have no friends and stuff like that, which I'm still pondering myself. I'm still burning. But when it comes, and this is just coming from my reading, this is just coming from things I've read. When it comes to black people and their lot changing, most of it has been done by the enemies of the United States or the enemies of Western Europe. I mean, I can do a whole nother live stream, but it may get flagged. But North Korea was actually a haven for Black Panthers because, like the Black Panthers, North Korea is all about self sufficiency and doing for self. Okay. Um, the thing that happened with North Korea is, of course, an embargo, because they wanted to do just that. Another thing that happened with North Korea is the fact that they whooped the United States asses. And, anytime you whoop the United States asses, they'll never forgive you. When you look at Somalia, they got their asses whooped there too, believe it or not. Um, that's what that movie Black Hawk Down was about. You know, they got, but the United in Vietnam as well too. They'll never admit defeat, and so when they are defeated, they go ahead and take their defeats out on those people by embargoes, by propaganda, and things of that sort. That's usually how it happens for the most part. So I say all of this to say that from my readings, the main allies that have been of like black people throughout history have been like North Korea, I would say of course, Cuba, definitely Cuba, um, and the Eastern Bloc countries, you know. And I'm not saying this in the terms of like, I'm not saying Russia when it was under Stalin. I'm not saying that period of Russia. I'm saying the period of Russia under the Bolshevik Revolution, like the real true socialist revolution that happened in Russia. Like that was the time where like black people had the best experiences. But mind you, there was help in, you know, independence movements in Africa as well from Russia. They helped in Angola. They helped in my neck of the woods in Cabo Verde, Guinea Bissau, when we had our Bush War, and and things like that. So I look at this situation with this building, and I already know Trump knew about it. You know, Trump knew Trump knew it was going to happen. You know, he planned it to happen. Okay, for some reason he doesn't want to um, step aside. You know, despite the fact that he did shitty when it comes to the corona, and he did shitty in a lot of other places as well. He doesn't want to step aside. Now, I'm not saying Joe Biden is better by any means. You know, I'm not saying that. You know, Joe Biden can go fire as well. You know, none of these politicians, man, none of these politicians really are interested in minorities' lots. They don't give a shit. All of these politicians care about is their own profit. You know, you have to understand something about these politicians. They don't have any idea what's going on where most of us come from. Okay, they're part of the petty bourgeois who only exist in their bubble. Like they have their own bubble. You know, we're not in that bubble. So just understand that. You know what I mean? So although Joe Biden is not better, there still needs to be there still needs to be law and order and structure, because according to them, the country was built off of quote unquote democracy, and it's not being practiced right now, you know. So that's what it is. Um, that's what he's trying to do right now. Actually, believe it or not, sorry to say it, bro, but I went out to get some food, and I already saw military personnel on the street. So I think that's what he's gearing up to do as of right now. But what else was I about to say about this situation? Um, we can also look into the privilege perspective of it. I don't even think there were any arrests made for this situation. Now that I look at it, you know, it's quite interesting that like Muslims in Afghanistan, Muslims in uh, Iraq, they get called they get called terrorists for defending their land. All they're doing is defending their land. They're not doing anything else. But for people to break into the Capitol building, they're not called terrorists. They're called protesters. But it just goes to show you, the media, you can never like really trust it to give a good perspective, a clear perspective. And I guarantee you, if it was minorities who were doing it, it would have been a different outcome. There would have been probably a piece of this in the history books because it would have been a massacre. It definitely would have been a massacre, you know. Yeah. Yeah, it is a double standard all the time, you know, all the time. Double standard that we have to deal with these situations. The one thing I can say is that the reason why they felt so safe in doing it is because they had the means to do it. There is a higher upper who is funding them and financing them to do these things. If Black people, and I'm talking about Black people all around the world, wanted to take matters into their own hands, um, yeah, bro. Well, for me, I really don't care either if there's casualties there because they asked for it. So, I mean, condolences to her family or whatever the case may be, but she kind of asked for it, by like being into that thing, being into the whole mix of it all. So yeah, but let this be a lesson to Black people worldwide that when we center the focus, if we center the focus on a certain goal, then it can get done. You know, it really can be done. We have to look at like the movements of the past and what they achieved, but they were hijacked most of the time. More often than not, they were hijacked. We look at Black Wall Street, and that was hijacked, you know. We look at the Grenadian Revolution, and that was hijacked. We look at the Cuban Revolution, which there were Black people involved in that as well, you know. It was economically blockade. We look at the Haitian Revolution, and the same thing it happened to them as well. We look at the Bolivarian Revolution in Venezuela that has a majority Black population, believe it or not, in Venezuela, and that was hijacked. That revolution kind of, I don't know if it's continuing as it stands right now, but you know, it has its share of hardships as we speak. But I say this to say this because you kind of have to be a radical. You kind of have to be a mad man in order to change your status quo. And I say this because of the simple fact that when you look at the Black Lives Matter movement and things like that, I kind of equivalated to like when a baby is crying and then the mom gives it a pacifier. That's what I equivalated to. And the pacifier does its trick for a little bit, but then the baby starts crying again. You know what I mean? Yeah, it takes fighting and it takes people doing different parts. You know, not everybody's going to be a soldier. Some people have to be doctors. Some people have to be economists. Some people have to be agronomists. Some people have to be engineers. Some people have to do just different things. But that's what happened. Like, for example, with the Black Lives Matter movement, it was as if they were just given a pacifier and then that was it, you know. Then you look at the Occupy Wall Street movement. They had no clear goals. They had no clear objectives in what they wanted to do. And because they didn't have no clear objectives in what they wanted to do, it was an utter failure. You know, all they did was talk about these banks doing this, that, and the other. And they didn't do nothing. Nothing changed. The system stayed the same. But when I read like books about Maurice Bishop, books about Thomas Sankara, books about Amilcar Cabral, books about Malcolm X, books about Stokely Carmichael. By the way, I just named all my politicians. Like, whether they be dead or alive, they're still my politicians, you know. Joe Biden is not my politician. Donald Trump is not my politician. Um, Barack Obama is not my politician. They're my politicians. Antonio Maceo is my politician. Who else? Although he did some kind of salty crap that I really don't like. Simone Bolivar as well, you know. But what the men that I just named have all in common is they actually did create change, and it the change was so heavy and impactful that it had to be put in book form. That's why their legacy lived on, because they actually did change things. But at the time when they tried to change it, they were looked at as mad. They were like, "Are you crazy? Like, no, you can't do that. Are you serious? Are you really gonna try to do something like that?" They were looked at as crazy at the time, but they still carried it out. They still carried the mission out, regardless of what people said. So, Black people, whether you're in the Caribbean, whether you're in Latin America, or whether you're on my home turf in Africa, or whether you're in freaking North America, there may be a certain amount of craziness you need to carry out the mission to get what is yours. Okay. I understand the need for reparations, but let's be honest, that is a pipe dream. The real reparations will happen is if we do what people did in the past, even in the face of superpowers, and that's what they had in common. They did it in the face of superpowers. Let's take Haiti, for example. Haiti whooped the French's ass. They whooped the Spaniards' asses. I believe they whooped the British asses as well. Okay. I believe that when your intentions are pure and what you want to achieve, God is going to see you through. And if he doesn't see you through all the way, your efforts still won't be in vain. You'll still contribute to the next generation to try and do the same thing, you know. But back to this whole thing. Back to the to what's going on right now. Back to this. All I gotta say is be prepared because it's not over yet. Okay. It may seem like order is restored. I haven't really checked the news yet. It may seem like it's restored, but it's really not. Okay. Be prepared. There's going to be other things happening. As a matter of fact, I know it sounds bad. I know this is going to sound bad. This is going to sound horrible, but Donald Trump may be the last president of the United States of America. And I'm not trying to sound crazy or like a conspiracy theorist, but something, it just feels like something big is going to go down. Okay. But with all that being said, thank everybody who stopped by the live. I appreciate it. If y'all catch the replay, comment, let me know. And if you're new and catch the replay, subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, keep the notification bell on because we got some good stuff coming in the future. And y'all going to see that good stuff on this channel. But respect to everybody who came by. It's Fuller signing out. Jah Rama.